He ruled with pride and money. She ruled with patience and grace. When their worlds collided, one lesson changed them both forever. The afternoon sun spilled through the glass walls of Cole Innovations Tower, turning every surface into mirrors of gold. The lobby gleamed, marble floors so polished they reflected the sky, golden trims running along the pillars like veins of pride. Every sound carried purpose, the sharp clicks of heels, the low murmur of business talk, the steady rhythm of success echoing through glass and steel. At the center of it all stood Mr. Raymond Cole, the billionaire CEO, tall, confident, a man who had built an empire and believed the world should bow to it. His suit was immaculate. His watch gleamed like authority itself. People parted when he walked, as if the air knew who owned it. And then, quietly, there was Mrs. Lila Brooks, a black woman in her 50s, moving with calm precision, a mop in her hand and dignity in her eyes. Her uniform was worn, yet spotless, like she took pride in her labor even when no one noticed. She paused for a moment, glancing at the sunlight cascading across the marble, her reflection merging with the building's glittering perfection. In that grand tower of power and wealth, no one saw her, yet somehow she saw everything. Lila's mop glided across the marble floor, tracing smooth arcs that shimmered under the afternoon light. She worked quietly, humming a tune only she could hear, her movements steady and rhythmic, the dance of someone who found dignity in every task, no matter how small. The elevator doors opened with a chime. Mr. Raymond Cole emerged, surrounded by his board members, their laughter sharp and loud, their confidence filling the lobby. Lila straightened slightly, stepping aside to let them pass. With a gentle smile, she said, "Good afternoon, sir." Raymond's gaze flicked toward her, then away just as quickly, cold, dismissive, as though the sound of her voice were an interruption. His polished shoes stepped squarely on the still wet floor, leaving dark footprints across her freshly cleaned work. "They really should do this after hours," he muttered, not to her, but to the air. The men around him chuckled, soft, rehearsed laughs that echoed arrogance. Lila said nothing. She waited for their steps to fade, then dipped her mop once more, erasing every trace of his disregard. Her eyes were calm, no anger, no resentment, only quiet understanding. In her silence lay something far stronger than pride, patience, and the quiet certainty that life had longer memory than men like Raymond ever imagined. Upstairs, the air felt heavier, thick with perfume, ambition, and fear. The executive boardroom of Cole Innovations stretched wide, framed by glass walls that overlooked Atlanta's skyline. The city below shimmered with sunlight, but inside unease dulled the glow. Crystal water pitchers stood untouched. Silver pens were perfectly aligned beside printed reports. The table gleamed, as if polished with desperation. Every executive in the room knew what today meant: survival. Without a new investor, the company's dazzling image would crumble beneath its own debts. Mr. Raymond Cole stood at the head of the table, his jaw tight, his confidence rehearsed. He had built this empire from nothing, or so he liked to remind everyone, and the thought of losing it sent a quiet rage through him. He checked his watch again. Late. The investor was late. Then a soft knock. His assistant entered, eyes wide, voice trembling just slightly. "Sir, the investor is already here." The room fell silent. Raymond frowned. "What do you mean already here?" "She's been walking around, observing the staff, the building. Said she wants to see the real Cole Innovations before the meeting." No one dared speak. For the first time that afternoon, Raymond felt something unfamiliar stir beneath his pride. Unease. Downstairs, the phone on the reception desk rang with an urgent tone that sliced through the quiet. Raymond's assistant snatched it up, her voice taut. On the other end, a calm, steady voice spoke. "The investor wants to see the real face of your company, not the presentation." The assistant froze. "The real face?" she repeated, but the line had already gone dead. Moments later, the security doors at the far end of the lobby slid open. The soft click of heels echoed against the marble. Every head turned. A woman stepped through, tall, poised, dressed in a perfectly tailored white suit that shimmered under the golden light. Her hair framed her face elegantly, her presence quiet yet commanding. But it was her eyes, calm, sharp, and knowing, that drew every gaze. The assistant's breath caught. For a second, she couldn't move. The reflection on the polished floor told her what her mind struggled to accept. It was Lila Brooks. The janitor who'd been cleaning the floors just an hour earlier now stood like she owned the building. Her gaze swept the lobby, the same space where she'd once been invisible. And when her eyes met the assistant's, she smiled, a faint, knowing curve that said everything without a single word. When the boardroom doors opened, the room fell into a stunned silence. The soft hum of conversation died instantly as Lila Brooks stepped inside, her white suit glowing against the dark mahogany walls. The executives blinked in disbelief. The woman they had passed by countless times now stood before them with quiet authority. Raymond Cole's voice cracked as he struggled to form words. There must be some mistake. You're the janitor. Lila's smile was gentle, not mocking. I was, she said softly, setting her leather folder on the polished table. Years ago, I started my cleaning company to see how businesses treat the people they think don't matter. Her tone carried no bitterness, only truth, and something deeper, something that made the room shrink around her. She opened the folder, sliding a set of papers across the table. And now, she continued, meeting Raymond's astonished gaze, my investment firm has just acquired a controlling stake in Cole Innovations. A collective gasp filled the air. The CEO who once ignored her now stood powerless before her. Raymond's face drained of color, his confidence collapsing into silence. Lila didn't gloat. She simply straightened her posture and said quietly, funny how tables turn when respect is the currency you overlook. The boardroom sat in absolute stillness. The only sound was the quiet hum of the air conditioner and the slow, deliberate rhythm of Lila's voice. Her calm presence filled the room more powerfully than any outburst ever could. Raymond Cole stood frozen, his confidence unraveling thread by thread. The gleam in his eyes, once so certain, so untouchable, had dimmed to disbelief. His mind raced to catch up with the truth unraveling before him. Lila spoke without raising her tone. She told them how she had built $1 billion investment fund, piece by piece while no one was watching, investing in small, minority-owned startups, backing workers' rights initiatives, and quietly changing lives from the shadows. Her words carried no boast, only quiet conviction. You see, Mr. Cole, she said, her gaze steady and kind, the way you treat people when you think no one's watching reveals everything. The room seemed to shrink around her truth. The board members shifted uncomfortably, their admiration for their once proud leader fading into shame. Raymond lowered his eyes. The man who had ruled through fear and pride now stood before the very woman he had dismissed, and in her reflection, he finally saw what he had become. For a long, heavy moment, no one moved. Raymond stood rigid, waiting for the inevitable words: dismissal, disgrace, ruin. His empire hung by a thread, and the woman he had once ignored now held the scissors. But Lila Brooks didn't gloat. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Not with anger, but with a kind of weary compassion. Her silence stretched until it softened the tension in the air. Then she spoke. I'm not here to destroy you, Mr. Cole, she said quietly. I'm here to change what you built. Raymond's brow furrowed in confusion, his pride collapsing into uncertainty. Lila continued, her voice firm but gentle. You'll stay on as CEO, but from this day forward, every policy, every decision, will value the workers you used to overlook. Every janitor, every clerk, every unseen hand that keeps this company alive. If not, her gaze sharpened, you'll lose more than just this company. The words struck deeper than any threat. For the first time, Raymond didn't see a janitor or an investor. He saw justice in human form. Slowly, he nodded, his voice barely a whisper. I understand. And in that moment, the arrogance that once defined him quietly died. The meeting ended in silence, not the heavy kind born of fear, but but the reverent kind that follows truth. As Lila Brooks gathered her folder and turned toward the door, the sunlight pouring through the glass caught her figure, wrapping her in a soft golden glow. The same light that once reflected off marble floors now seemed to follow her, honoring her quiet triumph. Down in the lobby, the hum of daily work paused. The janitors looked up from their mops, the receptionists straightened behind their desks, and even the security guards stood a little taller. When Leela stepped out of the elevator, no longer in a faded uniform, but in that elegant white suit, every eye followed her. No one spoke, but the air was alive with awe. In her calm, steady stride, they saw something of themselves, proof that dignity can't be erased, that worth isn't defined by the title on a badge. As she passed the glass doors, the sunlight seemed to bow before her, flooding the lobby in warm gold. Upstairs, Raymond Cole stood by the window watching her leave. His reflection looked older now, smaller somehow. A quiet breath escaped him, trembling with regret. "She was right," he whispered. "She was right all along. True power isn't in wealth or titles. It's in how you treat those who can do nothing for you."